Hey everybody, welcome to day 19 of the 60-day novel writing challenge, where we're going to be talking about how to add more info to what's becoming our outline very quickly, but while avoiding something called the information dump. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and hit it now, and then whatever it is you're drinking today, regular old coffee for me, go ahead and grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Familiar with the term info dump yet. What that means is just that as a writer, you have a lot of information that you need to get to your reader. Oh, hi Sven. But the info dump is when it's done in a very boring way, and so we're gonna really do our best to try to avoid that. Because let's be real, nobody's gonna wanna keep reading in a book if it starts off feeling like a research paper and feeling like something that's boring to read just because the writer has to get all of that information across. So avoiding the information dump really is an art form because you do still have to get those points across. So I'm going to give you my two best tips for how you can get the information to your readers without it sounding dull and boring. So the first of the two ways is just to present the information that your readers need to know in the most interesting form you possibly can. So brainstorming a way to take that info and turn it into a scene. A good example of this would be like in the very first Harry Potter book. Can you imagine how much information was rolling around in JK's brain that she's got to get out onto the paper, but she has to not just dump it on the reader all at once, right? So her first super interesting scene is when you find out that Harry can use magic, at least in movie form. You find it out by, he starts talking to the snake, and then his cousin ends up falling through the glass and getting trapped in the cage. It's a super interesting and exciting scene already, and your reader, or your movie watcher in this case, also got that tidbit of information that Harry can use magic. So in my first book series, I have this big magical fantasy world and wars and all this stuff going on that I had to get across. And so one of the things that I did was to come up with this really big theatrical festival where there's a storyteller on the stage, but not only is he narrating the history of the world, they're also doing these cool magic things. They're on top of an ice tower. They're like narrating the story in the clouds visually. So they're doing a lot of cool things to make the scene interesting at the same time as your reader is getting that information. Now, the second way to get information across to your reader without just dumping it on them is to build reader anticipation so that that information is something that they are looking forward to. So what I mean by this is, in the first Harry Potter, if Harry had gotten his letter to Hogwarts and just opened it and read it, that would have been one way to get the information across. But JK went a step further and made the reader super excited to see what was in there because Uncle Vernon kept taking the letters and burning them and getting rid of them and nailing the door shut. He was so desperate to not let Harry Potter read this letter that it made you as a reader super eager to see what was in it. And so it didn't matter what was in that letter. You were going to read all the way through it and totally absorb it. That is a great way to get information across without it seeming like an info dump. And once you know what to look for, you'll see these sprinkled in all throughout the beginning of the book. Because like when Harry goes to Ollivander's wand shop, Ollivander, of course that's a fun scene in itself, but this old man makes Voldemort sound like this very scary, mysterious thing. He's got his really mysterious lines like, "We do not speak his name," and terrible, but great. So Harry knows that this Voldemort is somebody he wants to learn about, and as a reader, you want to learn more about him. So then, when Harry just sits and has a conversation about it with Hagrid, it doesn't feel like you're just being burdened with a lecture. It is something that you were looking forward to seeing. So when you go back and reread Harry Potter, or whatever it is you're reading next, keep an eye out for the ways that they make you anticipate and want to learn what kind of information is coming. So what I'd like you guys to do for today's homework is to go back and revisit the world building exercise that we did back on day 2 of this challenge and see how many of those you can pull over into our new outline document and try to come up with fun and creative ways that you can get that information into the book, sprinkle it in one little piece at a time by building anticipation and by using really interesting storytelling methods. I'm going to be doing the same, going back through my world building document and trying to pull anything that I need my readers to know and find an interesting way to put it into the book. So I've got some really good ideas for this. Also, if you still have ideas left in your notes and ideas folder, go ahead and work on those too today. Try to bring those over into your outline as well. Remember, we're turning them all into scenes, into like things that will actually be in the story, and then putting them in chronological order within that outline document. So as always, this should be a lot of fun as we brainstorm ways to turn those ideas from world building into scenes, which are going to go into the book as well. And if you are not totally caught up, if you still have ideas left in your notes and ideas document that have not been turned into scenes and not been pulled over into the outline yet, don't worry about it. This is a lot to get through. So we are going to keep moving forward, but you're going to have time to catch up on this outline throughout the next week as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and click it now, and then I will see you guys tomorrow for day 20 of the 60-day novel writing challenge.